What's up YouTube? It's been quite a week. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for watching our last video. If you haven't seen it, you can go click up here and check it out. It's trending quite nicely. Lots of tips there, actually 9 tips on what to do with these higher interest rate environments. But what else has been coming out this week? There's been a different definition for a recession according to the White House. There are, different influencers out there saying that we could touch 10% interest rate. And then there's also this report from CMHC that I just wanted to go through with people here today and really just try to help you navigate the waters here so that you can understand what's going on. I think we always have to look at the golden thread of all these different pieces of information that are coming out. So let's dive right in and check out all these different pieces. All right, so the first report here is with Bob Duncan, and Bob is the chief economist at CMHC, so this is mainly for my Canadian viewers here. A few days before the interest rate hike, Bob had this report just about what to be looking at, the road ahead for the economy and housing. Lots of information in here that we already know, but inflation has reached the highest level in nearly 4 decades here in Canada. No surprise, we've been seeing it at the grocery stores and at the pumps for quite some time. How did this all play out? I think we all know the story about what's going on here and how did we get to the position that we're in. This has largely been because of the pandemic and supply chain issues and what's going on over in Ukraine and Russia. And now we're in a high inflation environment. So what does Bob feel like it's going to play out here in the next few years? Well, looking at this report here, it's got some very, very specific numbers. And how often is CMHC correct? I guess you could flip a coin and see their track record here, but there's a lot of great information in this report here. I think it's interesting to see how, right now they're also talking about employment rates. So employment rates are at an all-time low right now of like 4.9% as of June, but they're expecting them to go up to like 6.2% and even as high as 7% as, these higher interest rate environments will affect our economy and have bit of a downturn when it comes down to our GDP, gross domestic product. So, that's a prediction. Will it get that high? I'm not, if that's what it's going to take us in the short term to get out of this, recession or these higher interest rate environments, I'm okay with that. People can just go take a vacation for a little while. Hey, drop in the comments where you want to go on vacation, where do you want to travel while, you basically check out of the whole employment world. I know there's a lot of people that are actually resigning from their jobs, so maybe they're banking on this great resignation to play into some of those numbers here as well. Yeah, Bob states the obvious here, high rates of housing prices have been unsustainable over the past couple of years. I think we all would have liked to have had 10 to 20% appreciation every year, but we can't have that going on for too long. So, in the short run, obviously housing starts are constrained by labor shortages, material costs, issues, financing. So, what are builders going to be doing here for the next couple of years? I think a lot of builders are going to pivot towards doing more custom jobs, like either really high-end custom build homes where people can just write the check and the payment doesn't really matter. They might just get into regular renovations and say, hey guys, we're going to go and work on homes that are already put up and give people that dream interior that they're looking for or exterior. Definitely they're calling for housing starts to be going down. But the one thing that they are going to be looking at here, what they do predict is that housing is going to return to its regular levels once we kind of get through 2023. They're predicting that inflation is going to stay high this year. It's going to dip down in 2023, hopefully around 3-4%. And then 2024, they project that it's going to be around 2%. So that's if they can actually land the plane the way that they're talking about it. But they are predicting that housing is going to return to its past historic levels, which is more in that 3-4% appreciation range, and that would be nice. So I guess all in all, what we're getting from this report here is that if you're in real estate for the long term, if you're buying and you're investing for like 5 to 10 years, you're going to be okay. All right. Just a lot of people have been speculators the last few years, buying real estate as this asset, kind of like a stock or Bitcoin, and hoping it's going to go up like crazy. But that's not the case, and that's not how real estate should be bought anyway. So if you're buying really good quality assets that are cash flowing now, even though interest rates are at like 5% or more, you'll be okay. I'll be recording a video on what to do if interest rates all of a sudden go up to 10%, which Patrick from Infotainment predicts here. I'll pull up his video here as well. Great channel, Valuetainment. Another housing crash, what to expect. In his video, Patrick references some things that weren't necessarily fact checked. So I want to make sure that people are always like, when there's a report on the internet, like mortgage default rates have been going up by 700%. I was watching a Graham Stephan video as well, and they couldn't really find that source. I think the source that they found was that it was up 188%, which is a little bit. I mean, if mortgage defaults are like a fraction of 1%, and they all of a sudden almost double, then it's still a very, very, very small number. Okay. I also wanted to show you this definition of recession, which was really, really interesting. The government, the White House website recently revised their definition of a recession, and this is what they have here. So what is a recession? A recession is 2 consecutive quarters of falling GDP that constitute a recession. That's neither official,
the official definition or the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Instead, both official determinations of recession and economists' assessments of economic activity are based on a holistic look at the data, including labor market, consumer and business spending, industrial production, and incomes.
Based on this data, it's unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. So is this the White House just backpedaling and trying to make themselves look good?
We're not going to be in a recession.
Hey, we're kind of in this big mess. We don't really have a definition for it.
And what is exactly the White House's definition of a recession?
Again, I'm not going to define it.
What should we do? We don't like to be saying the R word, I guess, is what a lot of people are saying that Biden's all about. And again, this is a totally different scenario that we're in. Like, we don't really have a playbook to compare it to. What happened in the late 70s and 80s is totally different than what's going on now, and it's totally different than what happened in the 2008 housing crisis as well, which was a lot of these loans that just blew up. So really, really interesting here. So these are definitely a few reports that people should be looking into, staying in the know. And at the end of the day here, gang, you gotta look for that golden thread. So that's always gonna be my message here. Look for the golden thread. Stay informed, but don't get too pessimistic about what's going on out there. The likely scenario is sort of what they've been talking about in the CMHC report, which is that we're going to be having higher inflation through this year. It's going to cool off in 2023. It's going to hit bottom in 2024, and interest rates will follow at some point as they feel like our economy is strengthening. You know, unemployment rates will go up and then they'll go down. That's just how we're going to get through this year. They got to really put that, noose hold on the economy to slow things down. Savings rates also have to go up as well. People need to be saving more, even though it's going to be eroding because of inflation. But it is what it is, and these things don't last for decades. We're talking, year and a half. So those are just some great reports here to be looking at. And again, make sure you're buying cash flow property here, gang. And we'll catch you on the next video, which is going to be talking about how can you prosper if interest rates actually do touch 10%.